myself. No one's ever surprised by that though. And I built the theme of this class on this kind of idea of threading and weaving. We did it in full practice actually on our online Zoom yoga class just last night, and that lasted for about 75-80 minutes. I wanted to try to compress it a little bit and pop it on the YouTube channel for everyone to enjoy, because I feel like we all got a real lovely practice from it last night. So you might want to cushion for some of the postures and positions, but it's not necessary. But one thing that you will definitely need, so take the time to get it now, is a book as a prop. Yeah, or if you have a yoga block is great. If you're using a book, I find that something with a little bit of heft and weight is best. And you want it to be about the same size as your foot. So that's a big hint there for where we're going with that. But try not to make it a really heavy hardcover, because you are going to have moments where this is hovering over your head and torso, and I don't want anyone to accidentally knock themselves out with a really heavy hardcover. Yeah, so a little bit of weight is good, but not too heavy. Something still kind of soft and kind. Without further ado, we're going to be starting on our backs today. So once you have your props ready, make your way slowly down to lie on your back. So we're starting lying down for today's practice with feet a really generous distance apart, and let your knees knock together. Make sure that the back of your neck is nice and long, and take your time to get comfortable and settled. It's up to you as to where you'd like your hands. Perhaps they're beside your body, palms facing up. Or maybe you'd like to take cactus arms with your elbows lining up with your shoulders and fingers pointing to the wall behind you. Or if you'd like a slightly more internally focused start to the class, you can place both hands, palms down, onto the belly. But for me personally, I'm going to go for cactus arms, because I like that little bit of stretch through the chest, and I like feeling that sense of contact of the back of my arms and shoulders to the earth. So when you're ready, softly close down the eyes and begin to draw the awareness to your breath. Not trying to actively change or alter it just yet, but simply noticing its rhythm and texture for you today. Breathing in and out softly through the nose. And when you've established that connection, checking in with how you're feeling as well today. So notice how you're feeling physically. If there's any areas that are holding tension. Notice how you're feeling with your energy levels, and also mentally and emotionally. And notice all these things without judgment. Just simply cast your awareness upon them, knowing that all of those things will influence and contribute to your practice. And then we'll take 2 really deep breaths in through the nose and then out through the mouth, audible exhales, just in your own time. You don't have to follow exactly along with me. Hopefully that's allowed you to just let go of any lingering tension that you might have been feeling, particularly around the face, neck or jaw. And also really allowed you to feel that sense of surrender and embrace down to the mat and the earth beneath you. So you're really aware of those contact points, soles of feet, hips and buttocks, spine, ribcage and shoulder blades. And whichever parts of the arms and hands that are contacting the earth, and also through the back of the skull. So feeling really supported by the earth beneath you. And let every exhalation be a reminder of that sense of unity with the earth beneath you. And then as you inhale, start to play with this sensation of feeling the top half of your body growing and expanding outwards and upwards. So opening up to the room and the air around you. Noticing the texture, quality, and temperature of the air. And having a sense of spaciousness. So even though we're in a room that has a ceiling and four walls, we still have this really lovely sense of space around us. So playing with that sensation with every inhale and exhalation, and you might want to focus more on the belly and the lower back to start with. So as you inhale, you feel the belly open and expand. And then as you exhale, you can really feel the hips, the buttocks, and parts of the lower back melt towards the floor. And then you can imagine that sensation growing out to the rest of your body like a pulsing light. So once you feel you've established it through that core area, now as you inhale, you feel the rib cage and the collarbones, the heart center open. And then as you exhale, the back of the rib cage and the shoulder blades really sink down. Until eventually you feel that sensation moving all the way out through the four limbs to the tips of your fingers and the tips of your toes, and all the way to the crown of the head. So that we feel simultaneously connected both with the earth beneath us and the sky and the space that surrounds us. Playing with this idea of unity between the two and your body, and your breath acting as a continual reminder. Inhale to open, grow, and expand, and exhale to soften, surrender, and release. Good. A few more breaths like this. Perhaps you've noticed your breath is naturally lengthened without any real conscious effort on your part. And then you can keep the eyes softly closed here. If your arms are by your body, beside your body or on the belly, move them now so that we're all resting with our arms in cactus. And we're just going to take a few little spinal twists here to wake up through the spine. So as we exhale, we take those knees all the way over to the right. And the gaze can stay towards the ceiling, or you can turn to look over left shoulder and left arm. And then we inhale back through center for head and knees. Exhale, knees go to the right and head turns to the left. Inhale up, exhale over, and you're just following your own breathing pattern, beginning to wake up through the spine, and also appreciating that lovely sense of massage through the hips, lower back in the buttocks, and also to a certain extent through the shoulder blades, so you can feel as your spine twists, the pressure through the shoulder blades changes. One more time each side, your own rhythm and timing, before we inhale back up through center. And then we'll exhale to take the left leg long and draw right knee in towards chest. We feel the back of the left thigh melting in towards the floor. Inhale. Exhale, use that sense of gravity and the weight of the hands to draw the right knee down towards the chest. So yes, there's some contraction here through the biceps to draw the knee in closer to the chest, but we're not bringing any tension around the shoulders or the neck. Inhale and exhale. If you'd like to take a couple of circles of the ankle in both directions, feel free to do so. Good, and then from here, take your left hand and place it on top of your left hip so that you feel that you're anchoring that left hip down towards the floor. Right hand on the top of the right knee. Without anything shifting in the pelvis, guide your right knee out to the side so you're in an external rotation, stretching out through the inner thigh. Once you've hit your sort of limit, where you can go as far as you can without letting the left hip or the buttock shift up off the floor, I want you to extend this right leg now in that external rotation with the foot just hovering off the floor, so abdominal muscles are engaged here. And then we softly lower the leg back down onto the mat. Bring the leg back into parallel, and then we draw that left knee in towards the chest. Good. Again, deep breath in. As you exhale, the weight of your hands and the gravity helps to draw that left knee in towards the chest. And we just hold here for a couple of breaths, really feeling the back of the right thigh trying to melt down towards the floor. And then again, perhaps there's a few circles of the ankle, a few times to the left, and then a few times to the right, working out any kinks there. Good. And then the right hand this time comes to press down on top of the right hip and pelvis. And again, we're trying to glue that pelvis in place. We gently guide left knee out towards the side. So an inner thigh stretch, keep your abdominal muscles engaged here so the pelvis stays contacting the earth. And then we extend that leg out so it's hovering just off the floor in our external rotation. And then we softly lower it back down towards the mat. Good. Legs can come into parallel. Give a little shake if you're feeling any tension there. And then we're taking those legs up towards the sky. So if you're feeling tight through the back of the thighs, a little bit of a bend in the knees is completely fine. But I really want you to feel that the soles of the feet are flat on the ceiling above you. Yeah, and there's that sense of energy pushing out through the soles of the feet. You can feel the hips and the pelvis really securely grounded down into the mat, nice and level and neutral. Yeah, of course, if you're feeling open enough, you work towards straight legs. Okay, hands come underneath the head. We're taking a little bit of abdominal work, and it's going to be like a little bit of play here. So as we exhale, we're going to take head, neck, and shoulders up off the mat, and you want to feel that the head's nice and heavy in the arms. Deep breath in as you hold, and then as you exhale, take your right fingertips and see if you can just reach to touch those left toes. And then we come back down, and again, the head, neck, and shoulders stay off the floor. Exhale, we reach and we slowly tap to touch those right toes with left fingers, and then we come back. So you'll notice that this is very slow and steady, yeah? We're not doing fast-paced reps like this because all that we're doing there is using our momentum. Instead, I want you to think really slowly with your shoulders, though your feet are like a little shelf, and there's something on the top of that shelf that you want to grab. You want to be careful because maybe it's glass and you don't want it to slip and break. And the idea here is I want you to be really connected in with your abdominals, so belly button drawing in towards the back of the spine, hollowing out, rib cage drawing in, and you should feel the obliques clicking on and notice that different sensations through the body, or through the abdominal cavity, as you move from foot to foot. And again, every time you come back with both hands, that head's heavy, so you shouldn't really feel any tension through the neck. And maybe the first two feel really simple and easy, but the more reps you do, the more you'll feel that subtle burn. Yeah? And if you're not quite touching the toes, that's okay. You can aim for ankle or shin instead. Yeah? We won't do too many of these. Keep thinking about drawing that belly button in. Exhale up. Good. One more each side. Ooh. You can see I'm letting my momentum come in now. Stop that. Good. And then you can release head, neck, and shoulders towards the floor. Draw the knees in towards the chest just to release any tension you might be feeling in the lower back by taking a little sway from side to side. Good. And now we come to our little game with our books. So full credit where credit is due. This little game was taught to me by one of my yoga teachers, David Camp, and I wanted to share it with you in that spirit of paying it forward. So you want to take your book and make sure you have space, plenty of space to either side of you. You're going to come down onto your back, and then this book will come to rest flat on the sole of your foot. Yeah? And now our aim of the game is to roll over onto our bellies without this book falling off. And we can use our hands and our legs as much as we need to help with the game. So slow is usually best. And you're engaging through the abdominals, but you're also exploring your hip socket. And I usually find it's better if I don't look at the book. If I look, that's usually when mischief happens. Woo. And if you've successfully made it onto your belly, now you want to try to roll back. Woo. And if it falls like it did just then, we don't beat ourselves up. We just swap onto the other leg. So we continue like that for a few rounds. And again, anytime it falls, we don't beat ourselves up. We simply just swap straight away to the other leg and we keep playing. Try not to grip onto the book with your toes. Yeah? So there you go. I feel like my left hip's obviously probably feeling a little bit more even. And I'm going to change over. So you just do this in your own time, maybe 3 or 4 reps each side. And again, get creative with how you're using your arms and your opposite leg to help support you. And you might have to play around with straightening that leg that's in the air a little bit, or bending the knee more. Playing with that angle. Here we go. If you want to be really tricky, you can try to swap the book over to the other foot without touching it. I tend to not be very successful at that though. I need the help of my hand. Oh. And you'll feel it really starting to pay off through both the abdominals and through the hip socket. And if there's parts where you're feeling like it's sticky, or if there's spots where you're like, oh, this is where I seem to always be dropping the book, that just really means you want to zone in and focus in on those places. So instead of trying to race through, have a little play and a little hold. Yeah. So for a lot of people, I find that it's as you're getting onto your sort of halfway between the side and the belly, and you start to lose contact of sight with the foot. That's when things start to get tricky for a lot of people. So slow down then. Don't try to race through it, explore it. And I really do think that it is usually easier if you're not looking at the book, because your eyes deceive you. Yeah? It's much easier if you actually close down the eyes or look elsewhere on the floor and you really just think about that contact of the book to the foot and that relationship of your hip as you move. Yeah? Trust the senses of your foot. Lots and lots and lots and lots of nerve endings there telling you what's going on. Good. Lovely. So just finish up on whatever side that you are. Make sure you try to even off right and left as much as you can. And then place your book off to the side, and we're going to come to a tabletop position. Yeah, you can either roll onto one side and then press up with the hands, or if you want to rock along your vertebrae a few times to wake up through the spine, you're welcome to. Yeah, and then we can either rock out over the knees, or we take the feet to one side and then use our hands to help press us up. So from here, we're coming to a tabletop position, but instead of the hands directly underneath the shoulders, take your hands a little further away, and we'll circle the hips a few times in both directions. Really spreading the fingers wide and feeling every part of the hand press down into the floor. And you can make it very simple, just focusing in on the hips, or you can make it a little animalistic, maybe bringing in a little bit of motion through the head, and the torso. I'm going simple today. Just stirring the pot with the pelvis. Make sure you've moved a few times in both directions. Yeah. Good. And then slowly we come back to center, and now my hands will come directly underneath the shoulders, so our traditional tabletop. If anyone's feeling any sensitivity in the wrists, you can come to gorilla fists, or you might like to fold your mat, the edge of your mat up, and press the heel of your palm onto the very edge. So that just takes that flexion slightly out of the wrist, so it's a little bit more kinder to wrists that feel sensitive. And then from here, we're having a little bit of a play with leg extensions and our cat-cow abdominasana. So as you take your next inhalation, lift this right leg up so that's at a 90-degree angle. But keep your spine neutral. So really think about the length through the back of the neck. Someone's pulling on the crown of your head. Pelvis is neutral, hips as square as you can. And it's just the leg moving up to a 90-degree angle. Sole of the foot pressing towards the sky. And then exhale again. We're keeping the hips square, but now we move into a little curve, drawing right knee up towards head and head towards knee, pressing out through the palms. Inhale, maintain that neutral spine as the leg extends behind you. Yeah, 2 more times like this. Exhale, we curve. Inhale, the leg extends. Last time, exhale, we curve. Try to keep pressing through both hands evenly. And then this time as we inhale to extend, you're going to take the leg a little higher so the pelvis can come out of neutral. And we will reach forward through the arms with the chest and the head like you would as you were coming into your cow. Exhale, we curve. But the trick with these extensions is when you come up, I don't want you to feel like you're sinking or collapsing, either through the arms or through the lower back. So instead, it's a real sense of extension and lift. Exhale, we curve. Good. Inhale, we come up, and try not to let that leg turn out externally, staying parallel. Exhale. Last time, inhale up. Core muscles working really hard here, and then exhale, we lower and we come back to neutral. Yeah, if the hips are feeling a little sticky or uncomfortable, we can just take a couple of slide curves. If the wrists are feeling sensitive, you can ease back off onto your heels. Let's just give them a circle before we take it to the other side. Okay, so again, establish your neutral spine first. Nothing here should change. We're simply inhaling the left leg up now. 90-degree angle, foot flexed. And then exhale, really arching through the spine, or curving I should say. Head towards knee, knee towards head, pressing out through the palms of the hands. Inhale, the leg extends but the spine stays neutral, gazes towards the floor. Exhale, we come. Inhale to extend. Last time, exhale to curl. This time as we inhale, we'll come into that extension. So remember, you're not sinking or collapsing towards the floor. You're just taking that left foot a little higher and reaching the chest forward through the arms and lifting the glutes slightly. Exhale, we curve. Inhale to extend. 2 more times. Exhale to curve. My leg always wants to externally rotate. That's my dancer training coming out. But I'm trying very hard. That should keep it parallel. Inhale up. Good. Exhale now, that knee comes down towards the mat. And we'll all come back to an extended child's pose just for a few moments. And again, if the wrists are feeling a little sticky or tender, just give them a little circle. Otherwise, we'll take a few breaths here. Just easing off any tension that might have built up in the hips or lower back. And then we'll come back up to hands and knees. If you have your mat folded under, bring it back out now. We're coming into our downward facing dog. So tuck those under and then exhale. Send the hips up nice and high, pressing the earth away from you with the pads of your hands. Give your head a little nod and shake. Thinking about rotating those shoulders out and up the spine. Heart center towards the thighs. We're not worried about straight legs here just yet. And then when we're ready, we can do our little walk the dog, alternate heel presses, just in our own time. As slow or as fast as feels right for you. Good. And then we'll inhale to the balls of both feet. Perhaps we're working towards straight legs now, if we're feeling open enough through the back of the legs. Take the tailbone a little bit higher, and then exhale, big gusty sigh out through the mouth as you lower the heels towards the floor. Perhaps the knees bend again, or we're working towards keeping them straight. And then from here, we'll take tiny little micro steps of the feet up towards the top of the mat. Coming to our first Uttanasana, yeah? Standing forward fold. Feet are hip width distance apart. Let's give the head a few little nods and shakes here to release any tension we might be holding. And then we'll bend those knees even further. Exhale, begin to slowly roll up through the spine, vertebrae by vertebrae. Inhaling up, shoulders and head last. Good. Now, if you're not there already, make sure you've made your way to the top of your mat and choosing your stance today, whether that's feet hip width distance apart or toes touching and heels slightly apart. Both very valid options. There's no right or wrong answer there. But wherever you are, we're feeling that the toes are really spread wide. There's energy pulling up through the legs, up towards the core from the ground. And then we inhale those shoulders up towards ears, exhale them back down the spine. Back of the neck long. We'll turn the palms forward. Inhale, reach the arms above the head of Hastasana. Exhale, we'll bend the knees slightly and swan dive down. Back to Uttanasana. Inhale to a halfway lift, flat back. Yeah, and then exhale, we fold back down, we ground those palms down into the mat, and we're going to walk back into downward facing dog, Ardha Mukha Svanasana, and establish a gentle vinyasa flow. And we'll be doing this by inhaling as we slowly the knees softly towards the floor, and we come into a little baby cow. Exhale, we take the hips back towards the heels and extended child's posture. Inhale, roll back up through the spine, curling as you do to come back to tabletop. And then exhale, we press the earth away from us, downward facing dog. Beautiful. From here, we'll take an inhale and bring that right leg up nice and high. Exhale, scoop it to the top of the mat and feel like you're like really threading or weaving it through, pressing the earth away from you. We lower that back left knee and then inhale, the arms come up towards the sky. Exhale, taking the hands behind us and gripping onto opposite elbow. And I want you to have a sense of almost trying to squeeze the upper arms away from the chest. And notice how by doing that, I've opened and broadened through the front of my chest. Exhale, then I can soften my hips a little bit more towards the floor. But I'm trying to keep pelvis in neutral alignment here. Deep breath in and out. When we're ready to move on, we exhale to take the hands to frame that front leg. Move straight back into a retraction, aiming or working towards straightening that front leg, but doesn't have to be completely straight. Back of the neck is relaxed. Inhale forward, coming up to fingertips, opening and broadening through the chest. Exhale, we come back. Keeping hips square. Inhale forwards. Exhale, we come back. Inhale forwards. This time we ground down both hands, tuck back toes under, press back into downward facing dog. Good. Breath or two here. Now you can stick with the vinyasa flow that we did for our first option, or we can inhale forwards to full plank. Lower those knees softly towards the mat. We lower down through half plank, elbows tight to the body. Walk the feet out long, press the tops of the feet and the pubic bone into the floor. Inhale, we lengthen and extend into a gentle cobra. Again, elbows are squeezing in towards the body. Exhale, we soften back down. Inhale, we press back out through those hands and knees, back through half plank. Exhale, take the weight back, tuck toes under, press back into downward facing dog. Good, and we take the same flow on the other side. So we inhale, left leg up nice and high. Exhale, scoop it to the front of the mat, in between the hands, lightly landing it there. We lower the back right knee. Inhale up. Exhale, the hands come behind. See if you can take the opposite cross here. It'll probably feel weird. And then again, you're gonna squeeze those forearms a little further away from the upper body. They might not move off the body, but you're having that sensation. And then exhale, we lower the hips towards the floor. But we keep that pelvis in a neutral position. Couple of deep breaths here. Good. As always, we can pad the knee that's bent on the floor if we wish. It's feeling a little sensitive, that kneecap. And then exhale, we take the hands down to frame the front leg and we move straight back into retraction, front foot flexed, aiming towards working to a straight leg. Inhale forward, up onto fingertips, breath through the chest. Exhale, we come back. Really relax over the front leg. Inhale forward. Exhale, last time to retract. Inhale forwards. Ground the palms down in towards the mat, tuck your back toes under, and then we come back into downward facing dog. Now you might just enjoy staying here in your downward facing dog, building endurance in this posture. Or you can move through one of the two vinyasa flows we've already established. If you'd like to introduce a third, perhaps we're inhaling forward to full plank. See how I'm really pressing the earth away from me? Exhale, I lower my hips until they're just hovering off the floor. Inhale, a variation of upward dog with toes staying tucked under. Exhale, we press back into downward facing dog. Adjusting hands and feet as needed. Good. Now from here, we take our next standing sequence. Inhale, right leg up nice and high. Exhale, scoop that leg to the front of the mat. Square up through the hips. Inhale up, high lunge. And then exhale, feel as though you're stretching that mat apart with the legs. Add a few little breaths here. From here, we're taking this right arm and we're going to do a little circle here as though we're trying to touch the back left heel. And then inhale, we come back up. Exhale to circle, internal twist. Inhale up. Last time, exhale, we circle. Inhale up. This back leg straightens now. And then exhale, we come to humble warrior. We can interlace those hands at the back of the body. Coming into a little heart opener, working the wrists together. But we're lowering that torso down towards the front thigh. Next exhalation, you release the hand. We press the left palm down towards the mat, and then inhale. We're twisting to look up with those right fingertips. So see how your belly is already nice and contacted towards the mat? Not the mat, sorry, your thigh. One more deep breath in. Don't collapse into this left hand. Feel as though you're still pressing the earth away from you. And then exhale, we take that right hand back down towards the mat. And then press back into downward facing dog. And again, feel free to just hold there. Enjoying and really relishing your downward facing dog. Or you can move through a vinyasa flow. We've established 3 already. If you want to introduce a 4th, perhaps as an inhale forward to high plank. Exhale, elbows touch the body, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, full upward facing dog. Tops of the feet on the mat this time. Hips still off the floor. Exhale, we press back into downward facing dog. Keep rotating those shoulders out up the spine. Keep pressing through the fingertips just as much as the heel of your palm of the hand. Same standing sequence on the left now. Inhale, the left leg up nice and high. Exhale, scoot that left knee towards the head so you can lightly land the left foot at the top of the mat. Square off through the hips. Inhale, we come up. Good. Again, you want to feel as though you're really ripping that mat apart. Hips are square. Shoulders are softening away from the ears. Now it's the left hand that's going to come back. And you can make a little bend now through that back leg just for stability. Imagine that you're trying to touch that back heel. And then inhale, we come up. It's like a bit of a rock and roll Elvis Presley motion. Inhale up. Nice and soft and smooth. Exhale back. Inhale up. Good. Then we square back off. Straighten the back leg. This time, let's take the hands behind us first. Interlace the fingers. Inhale, take that open heart stretch now. And then exhale, release into the humble warrior. Really relax through the back of the neck as well so you can look at those right toes behind you. Deep breath in out. Next exhalation, we release the hand. The right palm comes down towards the floor. And then we inhale as we twist towards the left, looking up those left fingertips. And see, nothing's really changed too much in the lunge here. You already have the torso close to the thigh. You're simply adding a little twist. And again, don't collapse down into this shoulder. Press the earth away from you. Feel like you're buoyant. Yeah? Almost a little bit bouncy. Left fingertips reaching up towards the sky. And then exhale, we'll take that left hand back down towards the mat. And then we press back into downward facing dog. Feel free to take a couple of moments in your child's posture, particularly if you feel the breath has sped up or if your mind's wandering and you want to center your thoughts. Or you can move through a vinyasa flow of your choice, and always feel free to mix and match. So maybe you want to come back to the gentle variation. Inhale, little baby cow. Exhale, extended child. Inhale, roll up through the spine. Back to tabletop. Exhale, back into downward facing dog. Next inhalation, we take the right leg up nice and high. Exhale, scoop but in between the hands. We'll ground down through that back left ankle. Inhale, windmill up to standing. We're coming into triangle posture here. So for most of us, you might want to just shorten the stance slightly. Heel and toeing the feet back in together. And then I want you to imagine that you're sucking energy up through the soles of the feet, up into the thighs. Yeah? Really lovely, long, neutral spine. Energy out through fingertips. The right fingertips will reach forward, and the left hip will come to the short end of the mat. So not backwards in space, it's not the tailbone moving, it's just the left hip. So we inhale forwards, and then we exhale to windmill into triangle. So lightly land those right fingertips on the front leg. Don't obsess about trying to touch the floor or your ankle, because instead I want you to feel really lovely and long through both sides of the torso. And you're looking wherever is comfortable for the neck. Yeah? Down at the floor, directly ahead, or up at the top hand. I'm more of a kind of directly ahead person myself. And then you can stay here, or perhaps you'd like to thread your right hand now towards the left wall. And you can imagine that I'm holding onto your fingertips, and that's encouraging that open twist through the torso. We won't be here for too long. It's hard work for the abdominals. And the next inhalation, feel as though that left hand brings you back up to standing. And then exhale, we windmill those hands back towards the mat, framing the front leg. And then we press back. Give the head a couple of nods and shakes here.
And again, you're more than welcome to hold here in Ardha Mukha Svanasana, or you can move through a vinyasa flow of your choice. Again, it's pick and mix, whatever you feel like, whatever feels right for you in the moment. Exhale to all rejoin back to downward facing dog. Good. So I'm just going to pivot so you can see this side a little better. When you're ready, we inhale the left leg up nice and high. Exhale, scoop that knee towards the head, lightly landing the left foot at the top of the mat. Ground down through that back right ankle. Inhale, we windmill up. Both legs straight. Heel and toe to shorten the stance. Feel energy sucking up through the soles of the feet. Core muscles engaged, kneecaps drawing up towards hips. Energy out to fingertips. Inhale, reach that left hand forward. The right hip shifts back now towards the short end of your mat. And then exhale, we windmill into our triangle, Trikonasana. And again, feel free to stay connected with those fingertips supporting you on the front leg. Or the left fingertips now will thread through. And we're going to float in our triangle here. Try to relax as much as possible through the jaw and the neck. Super, super engaging through the core. Imagine it's a rubber band helping to support your lower back in midsection. One more deep breath in and out here. And then inhale, the right arm brings us back up this time. And then we exhale to windmill the hands back down towards the mat. Press back into downward facing dog. And then from here, soften the knees towards the floor. And we'll come back to our child's posture. Just for a few breaths, full child's. Hands beside the feet, elbows bending, shoulders rolling forwards. Forehead resting on the mat. If you struggle to bring the forehead towards the floor, you can place the forehand onto two stacked fists instead. And you'll notice as well, if the hips are hovering off the heels, coming to this stacked fist position will encourage the buttocks closer towards the heels. And just take a few breaths here. Checking in with how your body's feeling. Noticing if the breath has sped up. And if it has, that's fine, but just take a moment to see if you can slow it back down. Acknowledge and appreciate the warmth and the effort from your body. And if there are any areas that are holding on to tension now, just see if you can use your breath to easily surrender them. Good. On your next inhalation, we're going to come to take those hands back towards the top of the mat, extended child's posture. Inhale, hands and knees, tuck toes under, press back into downward facing dog. Now from here, we're going to come to our Malasana squat. So for most of us, it'll be probably easier to walk the hands back in towards the feet. So take the stance a little wider, toes pointing out to the side, about a 45-degree angle. And then you can walk the hands back and bring the hips and pelvis down towards the floor. Yeah. And I want you to come to the in variation. So you can really let the spine curve and relax. Minimal effort happening through the body. So if I turn to face this way, you can see my knees are pointing out over my toes, and I'm really trying to work my pelvis towards the floor. If your heels are hovering off the mat, that's okay. Just make sure you are supporting yourself with your hands so that you feel stable. Okay? Good. Now from here, I want us to have a little play at something that's a prep for our Bakasana crow balance. So we're not coming into the full balance. Often, when you're a beginner, you're taught to come into the balance by having your upper arm pressing into the knees, and you have that dynamic squeeze of arms towards knees and knees towards arms. And that's quite good when you're in a Malasana squat because it helps you to lengthen the spine. But actually, I find when you come into crow, that's not quite the directional pull that you want in your body. So instead of thinking of pushing the arms out, I want you to think of everything almost squeezing in, including your arms. So the way that you squeeze your elbows into the sides of your body, like you come into your half plank or down through chaturanga, okay? And then we press those hands down into the floor, weight really evenly spreading out through every pad of the hand. And we're going to transfer the weight forward and just rock up onto the toes. And then we come back, yeah? So it should feel like instead of sinking towards the floor, you're floating almost, you're floating up. So if it wasn't for my toes connecting me to my earth, or my mat, I feel like I could almost float up and away, yeah? And then you can build on that a little bit perhaps by coming forwards and up, and maybe one toe lifts up, and then we come down. And then maybe on the other side, right toe comes up. And then left down. But again, I want you to really just play with it. Don't feel like you need to come into the balance. Of course you can if you wish to. But instead, I want us to think about that squeezing action. And feeling like we're pressing the earth away from us. Last time. Good. And then come back to your yin malasana. Really bend through the spine, chin towards the chest, and relax. Good. And then from here, we'll inhale to look forward. And then now we walk the hands forward and the feet back into our downward facing dog. So from this downward dog, we'll now move into our king pigeon posture. So we'll inhale and take that right leg up nice and high, opening up through the hip, and you can let the knee bend so that the left heel is working towards, or not left heel, right heel is walking towards the left buttock. But we're trying to keep the weight even through both right and left hand. Engage through that supporting left leg, kneecap drawing up towards hip. As you exhale, square off through the hips and draw the right knee behind the right wrist. And now this right ankle is ending up somewhere between left wrist and left hip, okay? Have a little check-in. Make sure that your right knee feels happy here. If it doesn't, you can roll out of the posture, and in a second I'll show you an alternate. Or if you are feeling happy here, just take a moment to look back and make sure your left leg is falling directly out from the hip. So what we don't want it to see is that it's pointing out to the side, yeah, or even off to that corner. We want a straight line out from the hip towards the short end of your mat. From here, just a tiny little inhale, baby lift up onto fingertips, just to broaden through the chest. And then exhale, we'll come forward, aiming so the heart center is coming around about roughly into the center of the shin bone. So not off towards the knee, not off towards your foot, but somewhere in the center. You should feel quite square through the pelvis. Stop at your first point of resistance and just hold there. Really relax through the back of the neck. And give your right hip a second to soften and relax and release. Yeah, we don't want to force ourselves into any position here. Now, if king pigeon's not for you today, you can perhaps try a variant of deer posture instead, where this shin bone lines up with the short end of the mat in front of you, and this back leg is just somewhere where it feels comfortable, and you're still working towards squaring the hips and the torso off to the front of the mat. You inhale to lift and lengthen, and exhale, you come forward just in that same manner as you would with king pigeon. And again, you'll notice my heart center is about in the center of my shin bone. It's not off to my knee, it's not off to my foot, it's about in the center. Yeah, that's just because I want a really lovely long spine. And I use that same kind of idea of exhaling to release and relax down. And my arms are there for support. Okay? So we close our eyes and we take a few moments here, whether that's in a variant of our deer posture or in king pigeon, Ekapada, Rajakapadasana. And as the right hip begins to open and soften, you might find that you want to bring yourself onto two stacked fists. So you can really relax through the back of the neck. Or it could just be one stacked fist. Or maybe it's flat palms, or maybe you're working those hands towards the front of the mat and then you're relaxing and releasing all the way down. I find that quite hard to do actually in deer. A little bit more simple in king pigeon. Yeah. Close down your eyes, don't worry too much about what you look like. Instead, focus on how you're feeling through the body. And continue to keep checking back on both the right knee and your lower back. Okay? And particularly in king pigeon, if you feel any of those areas begin to painfully twinge or complain, it might be better to come back into deer. Or you can even just come to a cross-legged position and just take a really simple forward fold. Easy sukhasana. You're still getting that stretch in the hips. Okay? We're gonna hold here for just maybe 3 or 4 more breaths. To release, we inhale to look forward, and exhale, you use your hands to help bring yourself back upright. Now, if you're in deer posture, you can take your hands behind you and just simply change the legs over. So you can swing right leg behind you and left leg in front. If you're in king pigeon, use your arms and hands now to lift back up into downward facing dog. You can take a couple little heel presses here just to get that blood flowing back through the right leg. And then we'll take the same sequence on the left. So inhale, left leg up nice and high. If you're coming to king pigeon, maybe you open up through the hip and bending the knee for a bit of a stretch through the front of the thigh. If you're in deer posture, you can come straight forward in your own time. But if we're transitioning into king pigeon, we square back off through the hips and we take that left knee behind the left wrist. And then that left foot again. See how it's somewhere in between my right wrist and my right hip. I quickly check to make sure that that back leg is falling directly straight out from my hip. So see, you can't see it either side of my body. It's all nice and hidden. And then inhale, I come up to fingertips just for a moment so I can feel that breath through my chest, light at the heart center. And then exhale, I come forwards. Now, if you did king pigeon on your right and it felt fine, it might not feel fine on the left. And that is fine. We have asymmetry in our bodies, yes? So if you've come down into king pigeon on the left and you feel the knee complaining or the lower back feeling tender, come on out, move into deer posture instead, or that easy Sukhasana forward fold. But wherever we are, we close down the eyes, we try to really soften through the upper body, particularly the neck and the chest and shoulders. Maybe you're coming down to those two stacked fists. It's a really nice way to feel supported in king pigeon as well, so you don't feel like your head's hanging in space. And this is always my way, I always think of a prop after I've done the first side. So if you wanted to, you could take a cushion and place it underneath that left hip or thigh, just to give you a little bit of extra sensation of support there. And you might want to roll all the way down if that feels right for you. But for me, my left knee's not having it today, so I'm going to stay stacked on my two fists. A few more little breaths here. To release from the posture, we're going to inhale to look forward. Exhale, use your hands to help guide you upright. So again, if you're in deer posture, you can just use your hand to help bring the right leg back around. If you're in king pigeon, if you had a prop, move it out of the way. And then we're just going to roll off onto that left hip and buttock. And then again, it's the right hand that brings you back and around. Good. So from here, your hips might be feeling a little bit stiff and sticky. So we're going to windscreen wiper the knees side to side with the hands behind us. Just getting rid of any kinks we might be feeling there. Good. And then from here, extend your legs out long. Walk the flesh out from underneath your buttocks. We're going to come towards a yin-like variation of our Paschimottanasana. So we start off quite active. We really feel that we're pressing out through the soles of the feet. And we can feel the sit bones digging down into the mat beneath us and the spine. So nice and lovely and long. So we're establishing this length here. Then I'd like you to bend your knees slightly, or as much as you need to really. And I sometimes like to grip underneath my thighs. I'm just going to pivot so you can see a little bit more easily what my torso is doing. Yeah, so I bring my knees up, holding onto the underneath of my knees and thighs. And I'm going to inhale to lift and lengthen, and then exhale, fold my torso down over into my thighs. So you can see there's no space there. Belly and chest pressing down onto those legs. And then I'm going to take my hands and either hold onto my ankles, or if you can, maybe the outside edges of your feet. And then relax through the neck. Yeah. So even here, you'll be feeling a bit of a stretch through the back of the neck, and also probably a bit of decompression through the lower back. Feels nice. So you can just stay here if you're happy here. Or you can begin to just walk those heels a little further out. But notice, if I shift this hand out of the way, I've not lifted my torso or my chest up off the thighs. There's still contact there. So I'm going to keep one hand behind me so that you can see that. And I let my thighs and my back adjust. And then only when I feel ready do I take those heels out a little bit further. Yeah, and again, there's still no space. And I can feel that even though my neck is relaxed, there's a sense of length through my spine. And it's because I have that grip of my hands on the legs. Okay? You can keep playing with that, working perhaps to lengthen the legs a little bit more. But to be honest, you're probably not going to straighten the legs, and that's really the point. The point is I want you to feel supported through the spine. really relaxed and released. To feel that length through the lower back, more than the length through the back of the legs. Good, and then to release, we inhale to look forwards, exhale, let the hands just drift up the thighs. Bend those knees in towards the chest, wrap the arms around. Exhale into a cosmic egg, just a few little breaths. And then inhale the forehead back up off the knees. We're going to come down to our mats for our Shavasana. So, put on any extra layers that you might wish to. Have a quick drink of water. Really come down when you feel ready. You want to be about in the center of your mat. Use your arms to help roll you down. Perhaps you want to place a cushion underneath the head if you'd like a little bit of support there. And for Shavasana, you can either finish the same way we started, so soles of feet on the mat, knees knocked together, or you can take those legs out long. Feet are very generous hip width distance apart. Arms perhaps beside the body, palms facing upwards, or palms resting on the belly. This is your preference. But take your time to make any little wriggles or adjustments that you need to now until you feel yourself really completely settling into the space, into your Shavasana. And that includes little scratches or adjustments of the clothing. And then when you do feel that you're comfortable and at ease, we take the awareness back to the breath now, not to change or alter the breath, but to use it as a vehicle for our relaxation. So that as we exhale, we can feel the whole back of the body really sinking and melting down into the mat and the earth beneath us. And as we inhale, the whole top half of your body feels really light, open and spacious, open to receiving the energy you've built up in the room. You can feel the muscles around your toes, soles of feet and ankles soften and release. The flesh of the shin and the calves melting away from the bones. Front and back of knees soft. Front and back of thighs heavy. Your hips and your pelvis are really sinking down into the earth beneath you. Front of hips and belly is soft. It's hard work done for the moment. Feel the lower back release as the back of the rib cage and the back of your shoulder blades melt and fuse down into the earth beneath you. Meanwhile, the front of the heart center and the collarbones are soft and allowing for nice, easy, deep breaths. Your arms, wherever they might be, soft and easy, fingertips gently curling inwards. Front and back of neck is long. The mouth is just very softly closed. There's no tension being held around the jaw. And no tension being held around the cheeks or the eyes, particularly at the back of the eye sockets. And your eyes are very softly closed. No frown lines or tension around the forehead or temples. You can feel the back of the skull and the top of the skull open and release. Whole body at peace. And if any thoughts begin to bubble up in the mind or any external distraction surface, acknowledge them, but then gently press them to one side, not letting anything intrude into this moment of peace and relaxation, your Shavasana.
We'll begin to slowly draw the awareness back to the body now by taking a few deep breaths in and out, really noticing your belly rise and fall with the breath. Perhaps even taking an audible exhale out through the mouth in your own time. Bringing some gentle movement to fingers and toes, giving them a wriggle, feeling skin rub on skin. And then allowing your head to turn from side to side to massage through the back of the skull and to reawaken the neck. And then completing any last little stretches that feel right for you, whether that's inhaling into a full body stretch, fingers and toes pointing away from the body, or perhaps it's drawing your knees in towards your chest for another little final hug and squeeze and rock from side to side. Make any last movements that feel right for you. And only roll over onto your right side in a fetal position when you feel ready. And then with your eyes still softly closed, use your hands and your arms to help guide yourself to a comfortable seated or kneeling position of your choice, not worrying about where you end up facing. Hands resting on the knees or the thighs. Re-establishing again that lovely long neutral spine, shoulders and jaw relaxed. And we connect once more with the breath at the close of our practice. Breathing in and out through the nose. And just noticing any changes that might have occurred there. And any changes that might have occurred in the body, the mind, or at the heart center. And again, we're not really casting any judgment or attachment to those changes, just being mindful of them, reflecting on them. And we'll take our hands to prayer at heart center, Anjali Mudra, bow our forehead down towards fingertips. Take a moment to truly thank yourself for taking the time out of your busy day and week to practice yoga. And let's conclude our practice with one chant of the mantra Om. You can join in simply by listening. But if you'd like to chant with me, we'll synchronize the breath by all exhaling here. And then taking a deep breath in for Om. Carry these peaceful vibrations with you into the rest of your day and week. Thank you for joining me on this practice today, this digital practice today. If you have any questions, comments or queries about practice, as always, feel free to pop them in the comments below. And hit that like and subscribe button if you want to see more of these videos. But until I see you next, wishing you all the best.